not often to bars, but wandering around the city, circling our block, wearing holes into the sidewalk there. Anyway, I listened to it so many times in a row that I started to get this idea for a song and some sounds that I wanted to try to incorporate. And then in doing so, I kind of accidentally made something else. But I hope you like it. And I think that one of those versions will make it onto the more listenable album, the one that we want to release either first or in parallel. I guess this is for no one, even more so than the other one is for no one. It's for absolutely no one, except very, very bored people.
I'll give you a smile if you give me
Damaged ears, maybe, like mine probably are now.
I'll give you a kiss
You sound
if I
like
can stay
sad you can't be recording in person much. But I don't
well.
think it's gonna
I've
happen in person.
still got a man, but we never
So definitely have to be a strange, isolation-driven form of
and the bar's never too far away.
removes the ego from creating, I think. I think it's so obvious.
I'll pour
in
you a
different ways that what I
drink
did here
if
show that I'm not very good at my instruments, that I don't have a ton of command over the finger dexterity to play slide guitar.
and I'd
don't
answer you
have amazing
kindly if
I
you
don't know what most of the knobs do on my own pedal. But I was really happy with the
can
present.
draw on my heart, I'll erase it like chalk.
I don't think anyone else is here, but I distinctly remember
'Cause the
thinking
bar's
I was
never
the one
too
who created
far
this
away.
here. Witnessing it, and thankfully documenting it.
Yeah, the bar's
So.
never too far away.
This is for no one at all.
I'll tell you a joke if you promise to laugh. I loved you too little, then too much by half. Now my heart's gone all cold and all hard like a rock. But if you're ever in town and you wanna talk, well, you still got my key, babe. I'm yours to unlock. And the bar's never too far a walk.
So, what did you think of that first one? I didn't love it, frankly. It's kind of, it's a little messy. It's a little didn't know what notes to play. Little didn't know how to hold the slide, didn't know how to hold the guitar. Like some of the strings, I wasn't super happy to what they were tuned to. But maybe this time around, a little older, a little wiser, new information under my belt, new neural pathways dug into slightly deeper ruts. this time it'll work.
I'll give you a smoke if you give me a light. I'll give you a kiss if I can stay for the night. Well, I've still got a man, but we never talk. And the bar's never too far along. I'll pour you a drink if you lend me your glass. And I'd answer you kindly if you'd only ask. You can draw on my heart, I'll erase it like chalk. 'Cause the bar's never too far a walk. Yeah, the bar's never too far a walk. I'll tell you a joke if you promise to laugh. I loved you too little, then too much by half. Now my heart's gone all cold and all hard like a rock. But if you're ever in town and you wanna talk, well, you've still got my key, babe. I'm yours to unlock. And the bar's never too far a walk.
I think these next couple iterations are where I really started to try to make it work and make it sound right. I tried some different hand positions, some different sort of techniques. You can hear me trying some different strings. I'm going to be trying a few more things because the truth is that I did this many times and I still don't know how to play slide guitar competently. But I was able to get the sounds out of my head into the air through other means. And I wouldn't have been able to if I weren't trying to do it with the slide. And I think there's something really interesting about that. My limitations and deficiencies and playing it the way I wanted to led to stumbling on something I think I liked a lot more than the way I thought I was going to do it. I think that's a big part of why I don't feel like I created anything. I was present for something happening, but I identified it. I think a lot of times about how the way I make music is much more like listening to music than it is making music.
commenting on music that already exists as if that's music. Sometimes I feel like I don't know the language, not just because I don't know my theory off the top of my head like I used to, or I don't have perfect fretboard fluency, but I feel like it goes deeper than that I don't understand the things coming out of my mouth or out of my fingers or out of my strange little boxes of wires and batteries, because I just trial and error. I follow a formula. It's the Chinese room experiment. It keeps coming up. It's the idea that you can be locked in a room, locked in a piece of concrete with only 2 windows, and you get handed instructions in the form of Chinese things needing to be translated in one window, and you reference a manual, an algorithm, a formula in order to translate it perfectly to English such that anyone could read it. But but you, the one in the box doing all the translations, doesn't understand a word of either. You're not communicating with anyone. There's no human connection. There's no interaction. They're kind of communicating with each other with a weird, inanimate thing in between. At least illiterate, I suppose. But I feel that way about music a lot of the time.
I loved you too little, then too much by half. Now my heart's gone all cold and all hard like a rock. But if you're ever in town and you wanna talk, well, you've still got my key, babe. I'm yours to unlock. And the bar's never too far a walk. You smoke if you give me a light. I'll give you a kiss if I can stay for the night. Well, I've still got a man, but we never talk. And the bar's never too far a walk. I'll pour you a drink if you hand me a glass. And I'd answer you kindly if you'd only ask. You can draw on my heart, I'll erase it like chalk. 'Cause the bar's never too far a walk. Yeah, the bar's never too far a walk. than too much by half. Now my heart's gone all cold and all hard like a rock. But if you're ever in town and you wanna talk, well, you've still got my key, babe. I'm yours to unlock. And the bar's never too far a walk.
picture of a signpost in Denver. This piece of paper stapled to it, and a little ad for a band. It said that they needed bandmates, and they described their sound as real dissonance, like real depressing stuff, with no further elaboration. And it was written in Comic Sans. And I think about that sidewalk when I'm making strange things. I'm glad I'm mostly getting away from dissonance, though. I think I'm kind of getting away from depressing, too. This one was just fun. At least to me. I think we're getting close to when I turn down the volume on the preamp power on the speakers. So at some point here, there's going to start being noise that wasn't intended to be aligned with this song. Because, it's somewhat controlled by the tuning of the guitar that I left it in. It stayed non-dissonant for most of it, but we had some interesting deviations from the original theme and some new tunings found. I'll make sure to dial back the singing layer when we get there. Focus on the noises. be the last or second to last with it being intentionally paired. Let's see. Iterations have been fun. Been ruminating on iterating quite often lately. Sort of in the midst of kind of writing a book, I suppose. Releasing a book. There's a few chapters out, but it's definitely a rumination on iteration. It's also not really a book. It's kind of a book that lives in Substack posts and is about a character in a video game being played by another character, and the video game doesn't exist and it can't exist, but a lot of the book is describing the game and explaining mechanics and narrating playthroughs. And then sometimes it sort of reaches through the game and is in a different layer of that reality. And sometimes it reaches through the screen and maybe is in our layer of reality. And it iterates over and over again. It's a Stanley Parable-esque experience where you're going through the same relatively short single player iterations, and each time you do, if you make different choices, it'll end up different, either a different ending or it'll lead to a different playthrough on the next one, and we're kind of taking it to a very extreme. We are developing a game that has some conceptual similarity with what I'm describing, but likely very few direct similarities given how many difficult choices there would have to be. But in its own way, that's just an iteration. It's just something to rehash and re-explore things that other artists have questioned and made art about in the past. It would be flattering if anyone referred to this as some degree of infinite jest in video game form. I think that's what it's going for, but it also isn't a game yet, or never will be. It's infinite jest in the form of daily Substack articles that have text and images and videos and audio files. I need to go back and redo chapter 2. Right now it just has this observation about the incompleteness of language, but it's supposed to have no words. It's supposed to be 100 unorganized audio files that you click through and experience in much the same way that the character in the game would in the art gallery that he enters and sees. A wall of MP3 players or Walkmans or buttons that play sounds. And, some of them will be helpful, some may be labeled as like, you gotta listen to this, because I don't think I expect any reader to actually listen to 100 and even retain all that, but not really sure where I was going with this. Pretty sure this last one was one of the iterations that was not supposed to be paired with Liz's song. So maybe we're just noise. Yeah. So that last one made heavy use of the pitch shifter and just laying the ebow in the right spot to produce a drone tone, running that through the pitch shifter, alternating between like all wet, all dry, and a mix of both to either create harmonies and things, or just to be manipulating the sound. The quick switches were really helpful, switching between pitch down, pitch up, so the same knob position as different notes sort of oscillate, or you can make quick changes. went back to the slide for a while. I definitely felt more in touch with it, like it was responding to my thoughts a little better, but I still struggled. I think I was using iterations with the slide to figure out what I wanted to do with the pitch shifter and all the other knobs over there. But God, a good slide guitar sounds so nice. Very goofy sounds going on. Maybe I don't want to listen.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
Hey, absolutely no worries. Can't talk right now, but I think I stumbled on something. Stumbled on something kind of cool. It's kind of the other side of iterative music. You know, we talked about iterating on what others have done. I think this one, I really, really embraced iteration as part of the process initially, and I think going to be a part of the output eventually. But I'm just going to let you listen. I don't know what the next iteration is. I don't remember. Some of them are really good. I think we just ended one that was mostly really good, I think. Some of them, a lot less so. So I'm just going to let you listen until the voicemail runs out. I'll try to be a good noise curator. As best I can, anyway. The sun came up with no conclusions. Flowers sleeping in their beds. City cemeteries humming. I'm wide awake this morning. I had my drugs, I had my woman, I kept away my loneliness. My parents weren't ever much for religion. I read the body count of the paper, and now it's written all over my face. It's heartbreaking. You look around the world today, no one ever plans to sleep on the streets, but not everyone has options, and truthfully, most of us are not that different. We're a couple of bad months, one bad medical emergency, a terrible accident or something, and the gutter is our best option too, but it's not news. It's not news to anybody. It doesn't seem like anyone's doing much about it, despite it not being a new revelation, but I don't want to sound too ungrateful. Things are good. There's a lot of ways that today is a lot better than things past. I think I tried to talk about that on Transmission Repeats, the first Transmission Repeats, but it came out stilted and awkward and scripted somehow, even though I didn't even plan to say anything during that segment. It just sort of fell out. But I guess we got our telephones to talk to strangers, or machine guns and camera lenses. I sure make big use of 2 out of those 3. Usually, well, truthfully, I don't really make use of the telephone that often. I'm much more of a texting person most of the time. I really do. I love a good text. I love the permanence. I love the revisitability. Feels like it keeps my friends alive past when they change to the point that they no longer are. Or I change to the point where I no longer am. I think there's a really strange tension for me between the desire to exclusively communicate over the phone and an equally strong desire to exclusively communicate over text. Because on one hand, communication in a space where miscommunication feels less common is so attractive. You can hear tone, you can back channel, you can ask for clarification, you can do all the paralanguage that text completely lacks. And phones are great. But I think texting has its own paralanguage. One, everything from capitalization to how long your individual texts are that you break up, what kind of punctuation you use, emojis, emoticons, underutilized, but I think there's some interesting things going on with like sticker reacting and being able to send texts with effects. You know, I think they come off as really goofy right now and like cringe because they're new, but I think that that's some more adult version of those things will develop as a way for texting to carry a lot more information than it does. At first, with the goal to catch up to the like perceived perfection of a phone call, but the truth is I think it should surpass it. I think phone calls are far from perfect, given that they're already very flawed imitations of an in-person conversation where miscommunication happens all the time, and you have the extra paralanguage of facial expression and more detail in the timbre and of voice that you can get, not constrained over the frequency range of a telephone, and body language, of course, and still, we're constantly misunderstanding each other. We're constantly being dishonest with ourselves and the people around us, or purposely obtuse sometimes. It's a form of dishonesty, I suppose, is choosing to see what you want to see. I think that is going to happen in text or phone calls or in person, but at least with text, you can bring up receipts. I'm always a big fan of that. Not that I enjoy being petty and throwing them back in people's faces, but sometimes I feel like I'm crazy. Like I'm the one who misremembered how a conversation went or how an interaction was, and I feel deeply guilty. And then I revisit the text and I see the ways that I was wrong. I see the ways that maybe I wasn't in touch with reality, but most of the time I'm like, oh, okay. I can see how past me came to those conclusions, and they might have even been correct. Sometimes you go back to the texts and, oh boy. So maybe they're not so perfect. They kind of immortalize your mistakes. But it's nice, back on the topic of iteration, reiteration, that you can bring a conversation to life. Not just have it documented and rehashed or reconsumed like it's static, but because you are one half of the conversation that happened, each time you re-engage with it, I think you're having the conversation again, and it's slightly different because you're slightly different. Your perception of the person sending the text is slightly different. Your understanding of the world is just ever so slightly different. And I think that's neat in a way that phone calls aren't. I think that has led to a lot better understanding of myself and a perceived understanding of the people around me, being able to not just talk and have it go into the air, enter my ears, produce a series of synaptic like impulses, and then immediately disappear into ephemera. Instead, it is something that can be re-engaged with and studied, which sounds just woefully clinical and academic for what I'm describing. Maybe that's where a lot of this comes from. I think both do plenty to remind us of the crushing weight of language's shortcomings. A tool made for bartering with grain and substandard copper ingots and livestock, or the harvest or whatever, and that a language made for that cannot comprehend the nuances of skibbity toilet or more complicated feelings, I suppose, like realizing that you're mourning a person that you fell in love with a long time ago who no longer exists because you reconnected, and you immediately feel some of the things, but you quickly realize that the person that you fell for died a long time ago, and there's this ghost with half of their memories and half of their values and a very different outlook on life inhabiting their body, and you feel guilty because what, are you upset that someone you care about like grew? That they're probably in a much better place now than they were when you were trauma bonding and making stupid decisions? Yeah. But I'm glad it was so obvious. I'm glad that the feelings aren't there anymore. I'm glad that we can move on as people. And I'm speaking very generally. I'm not speaking out of a specific thing. That we can be in that situation and you can feel the immense weight of grief. And you can still find closure despite that. Maybe you have to feel the grief to feel the closure, because if you don't, it's an open door. I think about that kind of thing kind of like every time I have a phone call, and it's exhausting. I'm trying not to think so much these days. So, instead of thinking, I'm drinking. No, that's a lie too. I've been sober for the last several days since I fucked some things up and made some very poor choices. So I'm not. I'm thinking. I'm thinking, breathing, writing, singing, and every day I'm on the clock. I've felt a rush of energy, and I've been trying not to fall too far into that rush of energy, because I think that also is what gets me in trouble. But my mind races with all my longings of like the things I want, the things I want to say, the things I want to get out, the things I want to be able to put into art and look at it and consume it as a listener, as a reader, and feel like I'm doing it. I'm doing what I want to be doing, and I like the process. And I've been really enjoying the process in a way that I struggle with a lot of the time. I'm almost always, to some degree, happy about the output, or at least proud of the output, or interested in the output, but often the process is daunting and unenjoyable for me. But it's been different lately. But I am struggling to keep up with things, I suppose. So man. I think so much of the things I want to say and want to do with art have to be said in prose. And I struggle with that sometimes. It doesn't seem like I struggle with it now, I suppose, because I'm just talking. But I want to find the right ways to convert prose into more meaningful language, to combine it with other sounds, to combine it with other mediums, to try to break through this glass ceiling that language seems to have on our ability to understand each other and connect. And I think everyone thinks at some point in their life they've discovered something that can do that. And I'm not saying I have a universal solution, but I think this project I'm working on, the Museum Review, is getting close. It's at least taking language and ideas and concepts that I have been trying to get out of my head and into anyone else's for even a brief second. And I think it's making them accessible and relatable and understandable. And I think that's something to be proud of and also be excited about. And I think if a single person reads through the entire work and feels that it made them feel more seen, or feels that it made them see me more, or that it opened up interesting thoughts or put words to things that they had already thought but hadn't conceptualized yet, I think that would be really cool. And so maybe I don't need to have a better singing voice. Maybe I don't need to sound the way that so many other people have made music before in order to tell the world the things I want to tell. maybe I can just do this, or make strange songs that are halfway between covers and abominations that don't respect the original piece, or sampling combined with noise, or maybe more traditional composition, and trying to use symphonic elements in a way that maybe they haven't been before. But it's tough one. It's a tall order. But I do still wish that, having a beautiful singing voice was in the cards for me in the same way. And recently, as some other topics have been on my mind, I maybe think that wish I had a different voice for different reasons. But I could have been a famous singer if I had someone else's voice, but I think I'm here because of the ways that I fell short of that, and I do think that there's a little bit of truth that failure always sounded better, so I'm making noise. I have no conclusions. I have no point on this, but it's been a good couple of days despite some very unfortunate self-inflicted pains. There's been a lot more healing than pain, and the pain that I think I cause the people I care about is something I think that I'll get the chance to make right. You don't always get that in life. Anyway, I think that's the sun. I'm wide awake. It's morning. going to be able to just adding the warmth of sort of vinyl scratch. It sounds very annoying and pretentious, but I do think there's something very fascinating about really amplified like vinyl tone too, and maybe sampling and manipulating that. This, off of Wednesday morning, 3 a.m., is, I think, a particularly interesting pairing with what I'm working on right now on the noise ones, just because I was just exploring major scales a lot through using the octave and pitch shifter, because that's mostly what's easy to do on it. And I had a really interesting time trying to replicate Ode to Joy. We can hear that a little bit here now. I thought we were going to hear it. So often that I do really, I think, resonate with what Connor used to say on this one. If I just had someone else's voice, I think I would have been a famous singer. And I think it's rather presumptuous of any of us to think that that's what's holding us back. Plenty of amazing talents in music haven't had traditionally nice sounding voices, and frankly, there's a whole lot of other stuff to it, but I've been really liking trying to find my voice lately, and today was a big part of that. I think part of these 2 albums is going to be exploring what it means to create your own voice when you're accepting the one you've been given, but also not quite super happy with the options that gives you.